All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final session for our AZ Bookmark meeting. I'm going to talk about comparing and contrasting some of the charting features in Webby and just Tableau. I mean, with all the sessions now, by now, you already know what Webby does, and most of you are already pros in creating Webby charts and everything. But if you have to do certain type of charts in Tableau, what is the transition to do in Tableau? And if there is a certain type of chart that you're interested in Tableau, how could we do that in Webby? Is there a possibility of doing that? That's what we are going to cover today. I do have a sample set of slides, which you'll get with the presentation deck. I'm not going to go over my slides. I'm straight away going to go into the demo part on showing like how would we do the charting properties within the Tableau. So I'll give you a quick introduction on the charting engine within Tableau itself. And as you all know, Tableau is a dashboarding tool versus Webby is not a full-on dashboarding tool, although a lot of new features are available in the charting part for Web Intelligence. We'll cover those as well. But majorly, we are going to look into the charting features, properties specific to Tableau and the same type of charts in Web Intelligence. So you'll get these slides, and I have some references as to my other presentations in the SpeakPO community about Webby reporting and how to do reporting in Tableau as well. So I've covered that. So that will be a good reference if you want to do reporting in Tableau. So let me switch over to some of the sample reports that come with BI 4.2. So once you upgrade, or if you have BI 4.2, you might be familiar, there is a Web Intelligence samples folder that comes with the installation. So here, if you go to the Webby samples, there are some good resources on mobile samples or the different charting engines, the input control feature, the folding and unfolding features specific to Fiori. So it's good to take a look at these charts. And I'm going to use this charting report as an example of what type of charts can be created in Webby and how do we create the same in Tableau stuff. So these are like different charts. So before we go into each and every chart type, let me start with Tableau charting engine itself. So here I have an empty Tableau desktop, and then what I've done is I've pushed the same underlying data source that's powering this Web Intelligence to our Tableau server. And I did this with Infoburst tab, where you can take a Web Intelligence report and push it as a hyperfile. So I'm connecting to our Tableau server, which hosts this hyperfile. So let me connect to this, and once I'm in, I'm going to connect to our easy charting engine raw data itself. So here I type in easy chart. Okay, so here I have the raw data itself. So I can either connect to this, or I can connect to the underlying data provider, which I've pushed. So here is a hyperfile, which is same data set that you see in the Webby report. Okay. Now, charting within Tableau, people usually get to the idea of like, okay, I can come in here, I double click here, I click on show me, now I see a bunch of charts, and the number of charts that come in the show me section is about 24 charts, if I'm right. Yes, 8 by 3, it's like 24 charts. Now, does Tableau do only 24 types of charts? The answer is no. This is just a helpful aid for you to get started with what type of charts that you can build in Tableau. But with all the combinations that you do with the mark chart, the filters, and the other different chart types, in Tableau, you can create multiple number of charts. I'm talking in upwards of hundreds and above the type of charts that you can create. So I'm going to show you some easy techniques on how to get started with the Tableau Show Me section itself. So when you click on a particular Show Me chart, so here is a text table. So as and when I hover over the Show Me section, you'll notice that at the bottom, you get a description. So to use a highlight table, for example, you need one or more dimensions or one measure. And similarly, if I go to a line chart, it shows that for a line, which a continuous chart, you need a one date dimension or one or more measures. And if I go to the pie chart, it shows like one dimension or one or two measures. So you get a brief description on what you need exactly to utilize these charts. And another way is like, okay, I'm interested in analyzing all the categories in my thing. So if you'll notice that when I select category, it immediately highlights, okay, here is category. So I can double click this. And then for the category, if I'm interested in analyzing my sales revenue, when I select sales revenue, you will notice that on the right side in the Show Me section, certain charts are already highlighted. I'll repeat this again. So when I select category and then I click on sales revenue, you'll notice that certain charts are highlighted. So this is easy for me to select the type of chart that I need, and I get the instant visualization in Tableau. So this is how you would utilize the Show Me section. And typically when I create demos or when I go to customer sites building Tableau, I don't double click what's in dimensions and measures, because when you double click, you're taking a chance it automatically builds in the rows and you don't know. Then when you click on sales revenue, it adds to the text. So you don't exactly know where you go with the Tableau visualization. So I use a drag and drop approach. So from here, say I want this lines and columns, I drag it to the lines. And then if I need the sales revenue as a bar chart, and now when I click and then I drop it here, now I get a bar chart directly. And from here, I can always go back and, okay, I don't need this chart. I can change this. I can go back to this section. I can make it a pie chart. I can make it a column chart. So I can go and change over here. So I use the drag and drop approach when I build the charts itself. So I bring in and I'll build a simple chart here. So I'll bring in the sales revenue. Now I want it sorted. You have like easy sort icons. If you want to swap it to a column chart, to a row chart, you can change this. You can make a visualization fit the entire screen. And in typical Tableau fashion, you can build only one chart in a particular sheet. Tableau is organized by sheets, dashboard, and storyboards. So you build multiple visualizations and multiple sheets, and then you combine everything to a dashboard, which is not the case with Webby. In Web Intelligence, you have a screen space. You can bring in multiple tables, and then you can have multiple charts in the canvas itself. But here you have to create like multiple sheets over here. So let me get into a bit on the properties of the chart itself. So every chart here has the marks card. So in the marks card, when I drag in the sales revenue, automatically it gave a bar chart. Now, if I don't need a bar chart and if I need a line chart, you don't have the line chart here, but using a combination of marks, I can change this to a line chart. I can change this to an area chart, and then I can change this to a text table where I can display here as well. So these are different ways that you combine the value of marks card along with the chart that you created over here. And the properties that we do with Web Intelligence, for example, here is a chart, I right click and then, so I'll get to the design mode of the chart. So here I right click and then here you have format chart plot area, and then you can click on assign data and then you can assign the data over here. This is typical with Excel sheets or SAP dashboards or any other charting engine where you right click, including Excel for that matter. You click on a particular chart, you right click and then you can assign data and then you have the format plot area. And that's same with Microsoft Excel as well. Now at Tableau, the formatting is a bit different. You do have certain formatting features within the marks card itself. Say if I want to change the color, I click on my color, then I can change the color right away. And if I want to change the font and other stuff, I can right click on the chart and then there's another detailed formatting menu that you need to get into for the charts itself. So I click on formatting and then on my left-hand side over here, you have hundreds of options for the different elements within one single visualization. So you have all the text options where you can change the font size and the font color. And then you have the alignment options on where you want to display this. For example, if I'm displaying my sales revenue numbers directly in the bar itself. So if I'm displaying it over here, now I right click and if I want to do format, it shows the format for the entire chart. And then here under the field section, I can format either my category lines or my measure itself, which is the same as me clicking on a particular measure over here, then going to the format. For example, if I want to display this as a currency, I can go here and I can change this, okay, make my currency this. And I don't want my alignment to be the end. If I want it in the middle, I click on the middle and it changes the alignment right away, middle top. So if I want to change the font size, you click on here and then you change the font directly into it. So this formatting where you go into every section and then every section has like format alignment and then you have a format shading and then you have a borders meaning what type of borders you have around that particular visualization. So these are all listed in the format section of the chart itself. This can get a bit complicated because under every section, there's like rows, columns, and say if you want to hide the grid lines, you have to exactly know which part of the format section has this grid line, for example. Say if I want to remove the grid lines itself, I go to the format section, I go to the lines, then I can go to, these are like horizontal rows. So I say, okay, give me my grid lines directly. I click on none. So now I lose the grid line. So because these are like column grid lines. There are various other selections. Usually I've seen some amateur Tableau developers that they go in and then they just disable everything. But if you exactly need grid line at a certain point, you have to realize how you go about and check the right section of the column or rows and then change the grid lines. So these are some things that come with experience, but once you get a hang of it, it's pretty easy within Tableau itself. Okay, now I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and then I'm going to show some of the charting that's already available in the sample reports, and I'm going to recreate these kind of charts. And these are charts that are not in the Show Me section of Tableau. And within Web Intelligence, some of them are available out of the box. Some of them you have to create with like different formulas. And one of them is the Pareto chart that's listed here. Now, a little bit background about the Pareto chart. He was a professor in 1800s, Wilfred Pareto, and the chart is named after him. He was an Italian PhD engineer, and he found out that 80% of the country's land in Italy was owned by 20% of the people. And he applied the same principle in different other areas where in vegetation and the country's wealth and other stuff. And he created this principle where 80% of the effects of any activity comes from 20% of the costs. So in other words, sometimes like 80% of the sales in a company comes from 20% of the customers. So that's the type of chart where you'll notice where the 80% of the sales lie within this particular chart. So here, I'm going to create that Pareto chart example here. So let's bring in the lines, and I'm going to bring in my sales revenue, and I'm going to display this like vertical fashion. Okay, so to create a dual axis chart, so for example, here you have like two axes, so you have to create a dual axis chart in Tableau. So you can drag and drop the sales revenue again, and then now you'll have like two axes, and then I can easily make a dual axis chart within Tableau. So this is how you would create a dual axis chart. Now to create a Pareto chart, for example, what I have to do is I have to create a running total. So it might get a bit ugly, but I'll show you how this is going to look meaningful in a Pareto chart. So I'm going to make it dual axis. I'm going to do from first. It's descending to ascending, and then I'm going to make a running total, dual axis, and then I change this back to bars, and then this, I'm going to make this as a line. Here is our Pareto chart. So to explain this in simple words, what I can do is I can use the same sales revenue in my text over here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to divide this by total sum of sales revenue. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the format section and then do a percentage. Okay, so what it says here is that for my 80% of my sales comes from these four category lines. So accessories contribute to 31% of my sales, and then the sweatshirts, including the accessories, contribute to 55%. So if I want to zero in on 80% of my customer base, it comes within these four category lines. So that's the Pareto principle. So this is the same chart that's created in Web Intelligence, and in Webby, we don't have this chart out of the box directly, but you can go into the design here and then find out how they've created a Pareto chart. So if I go into assign data, you'll notice that there's a Pareto line, and then there's a Pareto 80 line that is created. So these are formulas and variables that has been created over here. So if I open the Pareto 80, it's nothing but a value called 80. And then I have a Pareto line within where it's like doing a running total, which is same as the table calculation that we did in Web Intelligence. So this is how you would create a Pareto chart. Okay, this is a cool chart used in a lot of financial analysis. Now, the next thing we are going to look into is a cloud chart. So in Web Intelligence, you can bring in, and there's like a word cloud that you can build using all the data sets. So how do you build a word cloud chart in Tableau? So here, let's use our category example. So let me drag the category on my marks card. So now I have all my categories. Now I want this to be a word cloud where whichever category has the highest sales should be in the center of my word cloud. So I bring in my sales revenue and then I drop it on my category size. Now I get a chart of this type, but I don't want this in the square. So let me change, or let me add my sales revenue to my color as well. So it brought in the colors, and now when I change this to a text type, you'll notice that here I get a word cloud chart. So right off the bat, I know that t-shirt sales is the highest. Then if I want to change my colors here, I click on edit colors. I want to make it like red, green, gold, diverging. I want to keep it as step color, click apply. And now I get a word cloud chart. Now these are charts that don't exist in the show me section, but with a combination of all the different marks that we have here, we can create a word cloud chart directly. Okay, so let's go Pareto, word cloud. Let's create something interesting after this. So let's do a histogram, for example. So we'll use our histogram example in Web Intelligence. So Webby doesn't have a histogram out of the box as well. The way the chart has been created here is that if you click on assign data, it creates a price range, which is like a formula that's created in the variable, and then it counts the number of products over here. So if I open the price range, you have a formula where it says like it rounds by like for every unit price that's 100, and that's how 100 to 0, 0 to 100, these things are created directly into it. Now, we do have a histogram chart natively within Tableau, so we can utilize that. So when I point this histogram chart in the show me section, it says that for the histogram view, you just need like one measure to play into. So I'm going to click on the sales revenue itself. Then I'm going to click on my histogram chart. So I did get a chart by default over here, but notice that this is not in the exact bin size that I create. So when I create this histogram chart, you would have noticed that there's a sales revenue bin that gets created. So I can go here and I can click on like edit, then I can create the size of my bins over here. So if I do like 50, then it creates bins directly on top of it. I didn't use the right measure, but you get the idea. So you click on the histogram chart, and then you can have your bin that's automatically created. You can edit, then create a histogram chart similar to the way that is created in Web Intelligence. Now, the other one that I saw interesting was the bullet chart that you have in Web Intelligence. Now, similar to that, we do have a bullet chart that's available in Tableau default as well. So say if I bring in category, target, so let's do a target. So we don't have a target, and target is nothing but a formula within Web Intelligence. So let me copy this formula, and I'm going to create the same formula in Tableau. Create calculator field, target. I'll remove some of the formatting that we have. So if margin and discount is greater than sales revenue, and this is our formula. So the calculation is valid. So here is our target. So here we have a category, and then we have a sales revenue, and this is the target that's listed over here. Okay, so let's do lines instead. So I'll have like lines, and then I can have my sales revenue, and I'm using my control key, selecting target, and then here I can click my bullet chart directly. So out of the box, I get a bullet chart, and you will notice that my target is mapped here. And this is not something that really looks good because my sales revenue is like showing lesser and my targets are higher. So I can right click at the target and then say swap reference line fields. So once I swap this, now you notice that my sales revenues are represented and then my targets are like bullets over here. So by default, in a bullet chart in Tableau, you get the 60 to 80% range in a different shading, and then you can change the colors and everything. So not all customers like this type of 60 to 80% shading. So to avoid this, what they do is they create a straightforward bar chart, for example. So I can create like a line, and then I'll just do sales. Then I'll bring in target here. So I can add a reference line in Tableau. So where I can say, okay, make my sum of target and then make it per cell. And then click, make my line a little bit darker and then orange, click OK. So here is my target that's listed here. So instead of edit reference line, instead of using the text over here, my label, I'll just call it value. So here is my target, and then you can see whether my target is met based on my sales here. So this is another way of creating a bullet chart directly as well. Next, we'll do a waterfall chart that comes default within Web Intelligence. Now, Tableau does not have a waterfall chart by default, but the way we create waterfall chart is by creating a negative field. So I'm going to show a neat technique on how you would create a waterfall chart in Tableau. So for this, I'm going to duplicate the margin field, and I'm going to make this my negative margin. Click OK, and then I'll bring in lines same way. Control it to category. Then I'll bring in my margin. I'm going to say do a running total. Okay, so now I have a running total of my margin, and I'm going to change this as Gantt bar, which is just like just bars that are showing up over here. Now I have this margin negative that I'm going to bring it to the size in my marks card. Now you would notice that since it's negative, it's pushing the same value to the bottom. So now we get a waterfall chart in Tableau. Okay, so it's not straightforward as in Web Intelligence, where you select and then you bring in a value and automatically creates a waterfall chart. For example, here I have an example that I sell waterfall. Okay, so here you bring in a value, and then here you select the waterfall chart. By default, you just add margin and then it creates it. But in Tableau, it's not that straightforward, but you can still create a chart over here, and then you can add this to color, and then you can add like different diverging colors directly from here as well.
Hey, Rajesh, we had a YouTube question come in. I'm going to read this to you real quick. It was, how easy and difficult is it to make business users switch from classic Webby to, you know what, I'm sorry, this might have been from the last presentation. We might have missed this one. My apologies. So if the person that asked that is still on, we will get to you over email.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right, no problem. Okay, so that's the waterfall chart itself. And then a couple of other neat charts, like say if you're doing a sales revenue and then you want to do the margin directly into it. So I can bring in my lines and I'll bring in my sales revenue. So here I have my sales revenue, and then I can bring in my margin. Say if I want a bar inside a bar chart within Tableau, which is like a dual axis chart. So I can go in here and then bring in my margin directly into it. And then I'm going to have this as a dual axis chart. Then in this section, I'll make this bar. You can either have it as like poles over here, and then I can make this synchronized axis. So now right off the bat, you know that, okay, these are my margin, and then this is my sales revenue. Did I achieve it or not? You can even change this to bar, and then what you can do is you can decrease the size. So that way it comes like a bar inside a bar type of chart. So here I can go, and then my colors, I can make it apply. So this is an example of bar inside a bar chart directly. Okay, so I had a map chart as an example. Having a map is straightforward within Tableau. You just double click the state. Whenever it's a geo dimension, you'll have like a globe icon next to it. And then you can bring in whatever measure directly into color. And then you can have it drag and drop into text. Same way, if I need the state names, I'll just drag the state names over here. Then you can create a chart directly. And you can create a dual axis chart. Say if you need a pie chart within every single state, you will always do a dual axis of the latitude. So it creates like two charts. And in this section, I can change this to a pie chart and then make it dual axis directly here. So this is how you create a combination of charts within Tableau natively. Okay. Here, there are a couple of other charts that are listed, and every chart that you can create in Tableau can be created in Webby here directly as well. But just that it's not out of the box, you have to create like formulas and variables and then apply to a chart. So it's good to know that Webby has an improved charting engine than what it was before, and especially in 4.3, there's a lot more emphasis on having Webby as a dashboard example. Right, here is one of the dashboards that we have in our system, where majority of the charts or the blocks that come in Tableau can be recreated in Web Intelligence as well. I'm having some issues, but you will get an idea of what type of charting can be done within Web Intelligence. So this is an executive dashboard that's built within Web Intelligence, and this looks pretty similar to what you can create in Tableau itself. And I've created examples where inside Web Intelligence, you can also embed a Tableau chart using the Iframe component. So this is one of my previous webinars. So if you look into this chart, whatever you see here on the right is a Tableau visualization. So you can embed a Tableau visualization inside a Webby report, and vice versa. You can have a Webby report embedded inside a Tableau dashboard as well. That way you can come up with like a coexistence model where you can have both the reporting tools. Do we have a question?
We do not have a question. We just have a comment that said, goodness, that's awesome.
Okay, thank you. All right, so here is another example that I did. In the references section, I've included the other webinar on how you create formulas and how you do element linking between a Webby report and then how that triggers a Tableau dashboard within Web Intelligence. So that will be helpful for you to compare as well. And in final thought, like once you have all the different visualizations, you can combine things within a dashboard and Tableau. So you can bring it this way, and then you can have your own outline modeled. So here, for example, if I need it at the bottom, then here I need it at the top, you can combine and create a dashboard. This is an ugly version, but you can create like real good versions of the dashboard itself. I have a few here where this is like a calendar component that I created in Tableau. This is, again, not out of the box. I had to use the date dimension, create a chart with the dates itself, and then add sales numbers directly into it. And then here is an example of a donut chart, which doesn't come natively within Tableau, but you can create a single pie chart and overlay another white pie chart on top of it, and then you create what is called as a donut chart. So that's an example over here. And this is how you would create a geo map where you can have another pie chart within like every single state directly into it. You can create what is called as a pyramid chart. You can have certain limits. Reference lines comes in really handy within Tableau. So you can create like a reference line. If I go to add reference line, you can have a reference line for the entire visualization. You can have a distribution where you can mark the 70 to 80% of your particular chart, the percentile, standard deviation. And you can have like a distribution band that you can display here as well. So there are some out-of-the-box capabilities that can be combined with Mark's card, the Show Me section, and your own artistic skill of building things in Tableau. You can build some great visualizations as you start working out with Tableau. And pretty much same as Web Intelligence, except that since Tableau is amazing at visualizations, you have a lot more formatting features in Tableau. And that comes with experience on how you start formatting every single font, every single color. When more options are given, it gets more complex as well. So that's something that will come with the learning curve once you start building Tableau visualization. Versus in Webby, it's straightforward and a lot more simpler in terms of formatting. You right click, you just click on format chart plot area, and then this is similar to what you do in Microsoft Excel. So that's why people found it easier in formatting Web Intelligence charts, versus it's a bit more complex in the Tableau world.